80 athletes pedaled flat out for 12 hours straight, and all that sweat powered one ordinary family's house for a single day. Try charging just your dead phone the same way, and you'd sweat 85 minutes for one measly charge. Somebody actually tested this. They wired an exercise bike to a phone, climbed on, and pedaled steadily for a full hour. At the end, the phone read 71%. Not full, 71. To top it off, you'd be back on the bike for another 20 minutes, legs burning, just to watch a little battery icon fill up. Hold on to that 80 cyclist number, because I'm going to show you something hidden in plain sight. A small army of invisible workers laboring for you right now, and how staggeringly weak your own body is next to the energy you burn without a thought. And by the end, that weakness is going to flip into the most miraculous thing about your life. Start with you. A healthy, fit human can only push out about 75 to 100 watts of steady mechanical power. That's power, the rate you can pour effort out of your muscles, not a heroic sprint, sustained, hour after hour. An untrained office body tops out lower, maybe 50. The figure engineers use for what a person can pedal basically forever is about 75 watts, a tenth of a single horsepower. That is almost nothing. A hairdryer is 1500 watts. You, going full effort, are 1/20th of a hairdryer. And it gets worse because when your pedaling gets turned into electricity, a chunk leaks away as heat in the wires and magnets. Only 60 to 80% of your sweat survives the trip. Your real useful output is even punier than it sounds. Now you understand the phone, now the house. In 2010, the BBC built the Human Power Station. They took a normal British family, the Collinses, and secretly rerouted their entire home's electricity to a hidden hall full of 80 club cyclists on generator bikes. Every light, every socket, every appliance in that house now ran on human legs. The family just went about a normal Sunday, made breakfast, ran a shower, cooked a roast. Watch what happened. When Mum flicked on the electric kettle for a cup of tea, one kettle, it took 30 cyclists pedaling at once to feed it, 30 grown adults, hearts pounding, to boil water for tea. When the oven came on for the roast, the cyclists were screaming, drenched, and still falling behind. At peak demand, the whole army of 80 couldn't keep up. The lights dipped. A house that a family runs without a single thought nearly brought 80 athletes to their knees. So here's the promised question, and it's just arithmetic on those real numbers. If 80 people flooring it for 12 hours can barely cover one house for one day, how many invisible pedalers does it take to run your whole modern life? A man named Buckminster Fuller worked this out back in 1944 and gave it a deliberately uncomfortable name: energy slaves. Take all the energy an average person burns through, not just home electricity, but the fuel behind their food, their car, their heating, the factories making their stuff, and ask how many humans pedaling around the clock it would take to produce that much power. In Fuller's day, the answer for an American was 39 people. Today, run the same math on modern energy use, and each person in a wealthy country commands the sustained output of about 137 humans, pedaling nonstop, 24 hours a day, forever. And since no real worker pedals around the clock, count them as normal people doing a 40-hour week, and the number balloons to nearly 600. 600 full-time workers laboring for you for free that you never see, never thank, and never think about. The average European has a smaller army, but still 400 or 500 strong. Where does this ghost army come from? One place, mostly. The stuff we pump out of the ground. Take one barrel of crude oil, a container you could roll across a room. The energy packed inside it equals roughly 8.5 years of one human being's labor on a bicycle. 8.5 years. Other honest estimates run from 4 years to 11, depending on how you count. But even the stingiest number is years, not weeks. 1 gallon of gasoline, the splash that costs you a few dollars at the pump, holds about 500 hours of hard human sweat. You buy 500 hours of backbreaking labor for the price of a sandwich, and you burn it merging onto the highway. Which brings us to the gut punch. Pedal a generator 1 hour every single day for a whole month, 30 days of genuine effort. And you'd produce under 1% of what your home eats in that month. In money, at what electricity actually costs, your month of sweat is worth about 36 cents. Not $36, cents. Human muscle as a source of power isn't just weak, it's economically worthless. Nobody would ever pay you to pedal. The energy is too cheap. That's why no one does it. And here's where the whole thing turns. It's tempting to hear all this and feel small or guilty or doomed. Don't. Look at what that absurd cheapness actually did. For every year of human history before this, that 600-strong army was real, and it was human. It was people. Someone hauled the water. Someone ground the grain by hand all day, every day. Someone's whole life was the pedaling, children mostly. The reason you are not spending this Sunday grinding flour between two stones until your back gives out is that we found a way to hand that labor to buried sunlight instead of to human bodies. The energy slaves became actual machines burning ancient fuel, and billions of real human beings walked free. That is the miracle hiding inside the blind spot. The same absurd surplus that makes your muscle worthless is the surplus that ended most of human drudgery. It's what lets clean water reach your tap, and copper come out of the mountain, and food appear on the shelf. Every one of those hidden systems runs on this ocean of near-free power, standing in for muscle we no longer have to spend. So, the next time your phone dies and you plug it in without a second thought, remember the 80 cyclists, screaming and soaked, who couldn't keep one kettle warm. That little glowing battery icon is 600 invisible workers, quietly doing in a heartbeat what would have cost you your whole life to do by hand. We didn't get rich by working harder. We got rich by finding something that would do the pedaling for us. And then forgetting it was ever hard at all.